Hanımlar, beyler, hepinize saygı ve sevgilerimizi iletiyoruz. Bugün 7 Aralık 2023 ve TÜREB ile Yeşil Deniz programının ikinci bölümündeyiz. 2050 yılında güneş enerjisi ile birlikte dünyanın en ucuz enerji kaynağı olması beklenen deniz üstü rüzgar enerjisi için Çin ve Avrupa ülkeleri ciddi yol almış durumda. Bu alandaki teknolojiyi geliştirmek ve tedarik zincirini oluşturmak için Amerika'nın da son yıllarda dahil olduğu yarış hızlanmış durumda. TÜREB olarak işte tam da bu programla Türkiye'nin deniz üstü rüzgar enerjisi potansiyeli konusundaki farkındalığını arttırmak, bu alanda özellikle Sanayi ve Teknoloji Bakanlığımız ve Enerji ve Tabii Kaynaklar Bakanlığımız tarafından yürütülen çalışmalara katkıda bulunmayı amaçlıyoruz. Aynı zamanda yapacağımız programlarla Türkiye'nin deniz üstü rüzgar enerjisi alanında tabiri caizse bir fotoğrafını çekmek, bu alanda ileride karşılaşabileceğimiz zorlukları ve bunları aşma yollarını yerli ve yabancı konuklarımızla keşfetmeyi amaçlıyoruz, ele almayı amaçlıyoruz. Bunların hepsini bugünkü program konuğum olan JUM-BO Consulting Group CEO'su Morten Søjborg ile konuşacağız. Bugünkü programda sadece giriş ve kapanış bölümlerini iki dilde yapacağım. Programın geri kalanı İngilizce dilinde olacak. Ladies and gentlemen, today is December 7, 2023, and we are here with the second part of our program, Power of the Wind, Offshore Energy Insights. By 2050, it is anticipated by International Energy Agency that offshore wind energy will become one of the cheapest sources of energy. China and European countries have made serious progress in offshore wind, and the race to develop the technology and to create the supply chain has accelerated. As Turkish Wind Energy Association, with this program, we plan to raise awareness of Turkey's offshore wind energy potential and contribute to the work carried out by the Ministry of Industry and Technology, as well as the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources. At the same time, we aim to take a picture of Turkey in the field of wind energy, offshore wind energy, and to discuss the challenges we may face in this field in the future and the ways to overcome them with our local and foreign guests. We will discuss all of these with Morten Søjborg, CEO of JUM-BO Consulting Group, who is my guest on today's program. Hi, Morten. Welcome to our program.
Hi, Ufuk, and nice to be here. A pleasure, and thanks for having me.
So my first question, can you please also introduce yourself and tell us about how did you get involved in the offshore wind energy industry and what motivates you to stay in this field?
Sure. As you said in the introduction, my name is Morten Søjborg. I'm Copenhagen-based out of Denmark, and I'm the CEO of JUM-BO Consulting Group. And just to provide a frame of reference, what we do is, as a consultancy, is to provide contract advisory, procurement and contract management services to projects globally. We do that out of our 8 offices, 3 in Asia Pacific and 5 in Europe. And that footprint really says something about us sort of following the offshore wind industry. Obviously, going from Europe to the wider global market and Asia Pacific and North America as well. So I've been working in the offshore wind industry now for more than 15 years. When saying that, that makes me feel a bit old, of course. It's been a great ride as it has gone from being one-off projects here and there in the North Atlantic Sea to a truly global industry. So along a wide road, let's say from where I started out to where we are now. And I started out, my background is legal, so that proves that you can still educate yourself and go beyond sort of your educational background to other things, as we now work more also with but when I left university as a graduate and got my lawyer's degree, I was fascinated by large-scale construction. And since I'm not an engineer and actually don't know how to build things, I thought I could play my part and support the creation of large infrastructure projects as a lawyer. So I worked in a big construction company that also had projects in the offshore wind industry at the very beginning, and then moved to Vestas offshore, where I worked for a couple of years before working as a consultant, which I've done for about 10 years now. So for me, the motivation comes from seeing projects come alive and more, of course, be part of the renewable energy industry and support the green transition. That is really my biggest motivation, and also that of my team here in JUM-BO Consulting Group.
Thank you. Yes, helping our one and only world is a big motivation for all of us. So it is estimated that the capex for offshore wind investments has risen up to 30% due to the supply chain bottlenecks mostly. Can you describe the current state of global supply chain and tell us about how to mitigate the bottlenecks in the industry?
That's two very big questions. So I'll start out by saying it's challenging. For the past years, the offshore wind sector has proven to be a very difficult market for the supply chain to navigate and earn a reasonable profit. So as you said in your introduction, the industry had to prove that it could reach reasonable levels on the cost of energy and compete with other forms of energy generation. Now, this has induced a lot of pressure on the supply chain to lower the margins and assume risk, which in turn has led to very poor, let's say, financial performance for a lot of different companies. And then when you then add a global pandemic, of the wars in Ukraine and now in the Middle East, you have rising interest rates and commodity prices, and then at the same time, through the increased energy prices for fossil fuels, you also have the increased, let's say, competition for capacity from the oil and gas sector. So that is basically the recipe for the perfect storm. So where we are now, I mean, overall, it has worked. I mean, if we look 5-10 years back, we've gone from offshore wind has gone from being a Northern European phenomenon to today, where we sit with you and discuss offshore wind in Turkey. Mm-hmm. But obviously, we have some short, let's say, to mid-term challenges that we need to overcome. So I would say that, let's say, aside for the macroeconomic and political challenges leading to high prices, there is a good news, and the good news is that the appetite for the build-out of offshore wind has never been greater, and that means that from a global supply chain perspective, the main challenge as we have it right now is bottlenecks. There's simply not enough capacity and supply to satisfy the offshore wind build-out globally at this point in time, and this is something we see across the board of all major components, works and services. So it's everything from VTGs to foundations, cables, substations, and so on. And then not least, people. So in the end, it's great that we have machines and can fabricate the components that we need, but in the end, it's people that are needed to support the build-out. So the challenge as we see it right now is that increasing the capacity for all of these things come with a significant lead time, and that means that the prices go up, and there will be a limit to how many projects that can get built for the next 5 to 7 years. And then maybe to address the second part of your question, Ufuk, and now we're coming sort of to the mitigation and opportunity in this, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, I think first and foremost, we need political initiatives. And you can say the whole sector is, of course, promoted and driven by the overall ambition that stems from security policy and energy policy and the green transition. So we know that the appetite is there. We can see that initiatives are being taken in different markets. And really what we need is, as an industry, is this long-term commitment, transparent and efficient structures to support the build-out of offshore wind. And that comes through political structure, which means auctions that allow adjustments to reflect the market dynamics, so it doesn't become a race to zero. That is particularly needed for floating, as we see it right now, floating wind. We need sort of clear and efficient pathways for permitting, and we also need a little bit less protectionism. So every market has their own sort of ambitions for local content creation, which is good, and you should definitely promote and do as much as you can locally. But that also comes with a price tag sometimes. So if the politicians design a good structure, then the market will find a way. That's at least my sort of take on it, I would say.
So it's more about the policy framework, as far as I understand, in your point of view.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Sorry, go on.
So you've told me at the beginning of your conversation that you've been in the industry for 15 years, and in the Northern Europe, there are many experts who is in the industry for a few decades, at least two, right? Like one or 2 decades. So you have a more or less established market. Even in those markets, now you have bottlenecks. How do global supply chain challenges in the offshore wind industry affect emerging markets like Turkey, then, like when it comes to us?
Well, I think you can look at it that there's both maybe bad news and good news in that respect, I would say. Obviously, there's a lot of emerging markets, a lot of activity. I mean, we see it in Asia Pacific, the Philippines, Vietnam, Japan. Aside for the more mature markets in Korea and Taiwan, Australia can also be mentioned. Same in Europe. The whole Mediterranean now, along with Turkey, is coming along and have ambitions for offshore wind deployment and development. So let's say the challenges faced by Turkey are the same as in a lot of these emerging markets. What I think is and actually what I see is that there isn't really a reduced appetite for the early development. We still see a lot of developers being keen on and engaging in finding new markets to invest in. So right now we have what I see as a short and midterm challenge with supply chain bottlenecks, where we'll see the more mature and established markets compete for capacity. However, I believe that in Turkey, you're looking to have 3 gigawatts offshore wind installed by 2035. And I think the good news is that hopefully right now investments will be made in the supply chain, and those current, let's say, geopolitical challenges that we see will be overcome. So maybe the timing is not too bad for Turkey, and maybe this is actually quite all right if you start taking the right initiatives to establish the infrastructure and the regulatory framework that is needed to support offshore wind development. So actually, maybe Turkey is a good place, and the time is not too bad for getting involved in offshore wind.
Okay, I'm happy to hear the good news. My next question. So we know that offshore wind industry relies heavily on ports and shipyards. And a few months ago, I read a report from US that it's almost 60% of the total infrastructure investments needed in US to create the offshore wind industry they were planning. Could you please outline the key differences between the onshore and offshore supply chains, including the talent pool required?
I can try at least to give it my best shot, and so it sort of lies in the word, right? Onshore versus offshore. So if we look at the supply chains, They're very similar for everything that is onshore transmission and construction works. So basically, all the markets that we are active in Asia Pacific, in the US, and in Europe, we see all the onshore works, all the onshore construction and transmission that is more or less available and can be sort of carried out by the local supply chain. So that's where we have the similarities between onshore and offshore. Then when it comes to offshore, that's where things get different. Everything is bigger, the designs are different, the manufacturing facilities that needs to be set up specifically for offshore wind are different. And then, of course, you have all the marine transport, installation, and operation and maintenance scope, which is fundamentally different, of course, between onshore and offshore. And as you mentioned, the port infrastructure required to do all this. So you're right. I mean, the scale of things is bigger, and so are the investments. And that is why these investments need to be planned and mapped out and initiated early on to facilitate the time where we're ready to do the offshore construction. When it comes to the talent pool, I think you basically need the same people in terms of educational backgrounds. I mean, you will definitely need engineers, you will need legal professionals, people with a financial, economical background, health and safety, quality, and so on. So the difference is not your sort of the skill sets needed in terms of educational background. I think the differences come with the access to education that is offshore wind centric, and that you have the opportunity to get some offshore wind experience on your resume. Those are the two differences, and I think Turkey there is in the same position as other emerging markets in need for upskilling and transition of the workforce. And we have the same challenge as JUM-BO Consulting Group. I mean, we as any company in the industry are looking for people that can transition from, let's say, oil and gas or onshore wind or something else into offshore wind. So we are also investing in education, and amongst others, what we have is the Renewable Construction Academy that we are partner in. But I think Turkey is ideally placed to transition people from related industries. With your large onshore wind portfolio, which I understand is 12 gigawatts today, well then you have some pre-existing knowledge and a good base to make that transition work.
Yes, we also have a success story on the onshore side related to our industry. I don't know if you know, but Turkish wind energy industry exports 80% of their production, tower, nacelle, and blades. So I hope we will be able to create the same success story in the offshore energy, wind energy field. My last question is about like the region. So all countries in the Mediterranean have announced significant targets for offshore wind energy generation. In this regard, Türkiye also set a goal of achieving 5 gigawatts of offshore wind power by 2035, while targets for 2050 are still under internal discussion. Could you please provide more details regarding the infrastructure investments that Türkiye needs to attract to meet its own targets and help other countries in the region as well? And what advice do you have for emerging markets like Türkiye in the offshore wind energy sector?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of advice and what is needed, I think we touched upon it a bit earlier on. I mean, you definitely need that the support from the politicians, which means long-term commitment to realize that goal of 5 gigawatts and a clear roadmap on how to get there. Then what we see is often a challenge when it comes to product development is delays coming out of permitting processes. So there it's also important to have a clear and efficient permitting process laid out. That is initiatives that can be taken now if they're not already there. You also need some energy price assurance mechanisms. I mean, we've seen latest in the UK, for example, where in the CFD round number 5, which was the latest auction, there were no bids developments, and they did the consequences of that and raised the ceiling price for the next upcoming CFD 6 auction. So we definitely need some kind of price assurance mechanism so developers can de-risk and can have a business case that is transparent and pretty solid. And then of course we have the investments into infrastructure, and that is where I think there's some possibility. There's no secret that in a lot of different countries they experience a lot of challenges because the existing grid infrastructure does not support this change in the energy mix and the use of offshore wind for generation. So they have those challenges in all the new markets. US, as you mentioned, Ireland is another good example, but that is something that applies across the board. So that's where I see the main investments from a, let's say, infrastructure point of view, but also from the point of view where there is opportunity for the Turkish supply chain. So that's the grid infrastructure, it's the port infrastructure that is needed, it's O&M bases and logistics. And then, of course, if you do have existing facilities, such as the capability to fabricate towers, nacelles, and blades in Turkey that can be used also for offshore wind projects, that's of course great if you can capitalize on that, both for your domestic market and more internationally. So, but those are the opportunities as I see it, sort of short term, and I think I probably need to know more about the capabilities of what Turkey has to offer there in terms of shipyards, in terms of ports and other fabrication facilities. There might be more, but definitely you need the grid, you need the port infrastructure to support the industry in the years to come.
Yes, thank you, Morten, for your contribution as a guest to our second program. Yeah, I'll thank you. I thank you for your contribution.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here, and I'm happy to attend another time for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dear viewers, thank you very much for your participation. For those who missed the beginning of the program, I would like to inform you that we will share the recording on our social media accounts. We wish you all the best till the next program. Değerli izleyenler, katılımınız için teşekkür ediyoruz. Programın başlangıç bölümünü kaçıranlar için kaydımız online hesaplarımızda, medya hesaplarımızda olacak, paylaşacağız. YouTube kaydımızda da Türkçe altyazı mevcut olacak İngilizce bölümler için. TÜREB olarak rüzgarın olduğu her yerde olmaya devam edeceğiz. Bir sonraki programa kadar görüşmek üzere. Sağlıklı günler diliyoruz.